paying for it and it's not cheap, right? So they're all slightly different in terms of needs. Like Perplexity is usually really great, in my opinion, for researching things in the internet. Claude is a little better for thinking, for operating inside your computer. People love ChatGPT for creating images, for instance. They say it's a lot better. Now, they all have pros and cons. They also have pros and cons against like who owns it and all of that. We're not going to get into it. Llama is something that you sort of install in your own computer, so it operates locally as opposed to, within someone else's platform. And you kind of have to do it everything yourself to start setting it up. But you need a bit of a technical setup and a bit more of an infrastructure. But if you're interested in any of them, you can look, and there's also lots more. And I'm sure we're going to get lots more as well. Cool. So a few things are that the more specific your input is, which is what you say to whatever AI tool you're using, the more specific the output of what you're getting. And another thing is that this, at the moment, again, AI tools don't really understand the negative as much as they understand like positive reinforcement. So if you say, do this in this way, as opposed to don't do this in this way, you're going to get worse results if you're using the negative. And I'm not a scientist, so I don't know why it does that, but that's what happens. Okay. So, are we all clear with that brief explanation? I don't know if does anyone has any questions that I need to stop? Okay, I'll keep going. So, with that, a brief intro on AI models. Let's talk about goals. The first thing to do if you're looking for an application of any kind is to go back to what you actually want. So we'd love to hear from you in the chat if it's like a job or a funding application or something else while you're here for this. But if it is a job, this is my motto, and I try to drill this on people that you only need one job. Now, if you are at the beginning of your career, it is possible that you've been encountering a terrible market and you are tempted to send 1,000 applications using the same AI thing, and you're not getting any results and you're feeling completely exhausted and frustrated. And trust me, I've done this, like we've all done this mistake, not with AI in my time, but in any case of like applying for too many things and losing focus. So if you're looking for a job, we need to think about that you only need one job, right? So it is actually better for the results that you're going to get if you have a bit of more focused approach on what you're looking for and how you're going about it, as opposed to just applying to anything. So even if it's entry level, where we have fewer options and we have, it's unlikely that an entry level job is going to be the dream job of our lives. But it's better to think about, instead of like, oh, I could do this and I could do that, think about, I want to do this. If you want to do something, already, I swear your application is going to be a lot better. So, how do you do that? So, this is for work, but we can apply similar ideas when it comes to funding. Bear with me. Um, I recommend people do what I call a job search matrix. That is, you list a bunch of factors that are important for your job. So, like just how much you earn, like benefits, like work-life balance. Like for some people, that's not important. When I started my career, I didn't care. I was working in events and film sets, so there was no work-life balance. I was working 12-hour days, 16-hour days, but I wanted to have that like event experience. Career growth. Is this a company that has a progression route? What is the company culture? Is it like really hard, really competitive? Is it really chill? Is it horizontal? Is there a lot of hierarchy? How secure is the job? What type of company it is, how far it is from your house. That's a big consideration. If it aligns with your goals, for instance, if you are, I don't know, against, if you are vegan, you wouldn't work for a butcher, I would imagine. You know what I mean? Um, if there are learning opportunities, what's the company reputation, who is your team? Because all of those things are actually what makes a good work experience, right? It's not just what the job title says, because a lot of times you can change, you can carve, and you can build. So I would recommend putting any number of criteria, how many you want, how little you want, up to you. And then you have to decide if it's an essential good to have or I can live without. And then you put a weights on it. And with that, you have a way to sort of assess every role you're looking at and only apply to things that are highly rated on the scale. That will give you a sense of control in the chaos that is finding a new role or finding something. And it will also mean that you're a lot more focused and actually more excited to work for that thing. And that will come true through our next step, right? So if it's a grant or an open call, you would do a similar thing. You would ask yourself a few questions like, how much money do you need? Like if you need 10,000 pounds, you go for a number of funds. If you need 500 pounds, maybe you go to your council. Maybe you go to, I don't know, 50 friends who are going to give you 10 quid each. If you need 100,000 and you are building a business, then maybe you need to go like angel investor, VC route, right? So how much do you need to get whatever it is that you want off the ground? And then how much to hit your first milestone, whatever it is. So then you have to ask yourself, what is this money for? Is it to pay salaries, core costs, research, development? Because each funding pot will answer to different things. Some will allow for some things, some won't allow for some things. Do you have any evidence that your idea has legs or that your project is going to perform well? This can be from, I have a track record, or I've done this before, or we're going to have surveys, like how you're going to show the results of that, because funding also wants to see impact. Do you have the time? Funding applications, much like job applications, are really time consuming and highly competitive. And then does the fund match your work? In both cases, what we're trying to avoid is that you're trying to fit a square peg in a round hole. Is that the expression? I think that's the expression. Someone correct me if I'm wrong. But it's, I have yet to see someone who's tried to pretend to be something or make their project be something to fit into a call or into a funding application. It doesn't work. People can smell it. Like people will receive thousands of applications sometimes. And they can tell if one is slightly more aligned than the other. Because at the end of the day, the competition for these things, it's really high. So you will need to show your best foot forward. And, if someone needs to bend over backwards to say that they are doing that thing and another organization is exactly what they are looking for, it's going to go for the other person. Okay. And it's not necessarily about merit, it's about project fit. Okay, so similarly, have a rating system, have an understanding of why you're going for the things you're going so that you avoid wasting your own time. So, second step is to read the job application like a recruiter. So, this is what happens. This is an entry level role. This is an example. Okay, perfect. If you're building a career in X, Y, and Z, it tells you what they need to do. Usually, the first three skills that people ask you to do, or the first three tasks that they will ask you to do on the job application, are the most important. It's okay if you don't fit 100%, right? If you feel like you fit 70%, great, you know? And then they say what you're looking for, right? Cool. So, what you need to do is, and this is what I like to do, is go through each task or each essential requirement from the person that they are asking you to do and write down a quick note saying, how have you done it before? So, oh, I need someone to edit social media content. I edited my school's magazine content and it grew from 1 to 100 in 3 months. Like, how, when did you have that experience? This is what you need to show. Okay. No one, remember, no one knows you when you're applying. So if you're saying, I'm passionate, I don't know. what that means. Like, I'm organized. I think I'm pretty organized. If you meet my sister, she will tell me I am not organized because her level of organization is different from mine in that she's insane. She has a crazy level of organization. So it's different. So we can't really assume things. You need to show us, okay? Um, one quick thing that I was going to say, you can even do this using a tool, like one of those tools that like reads what you say. So like Whisperflow is really good. You could like put this in the AI and say, look, I'm going to tell you how I've done each one of those things as an example. And you say it out loud and they write it for you. So you can even have a chat with the chat. Okay. So another thing then is to get the job description and put this down. Act as a hiring manager. What core problem does this role solve? Top 5 outcomes I need to solve in the first 2 months, and the top 10 keywords a recruiter would scan for. This will help you to organize your information. But if you just do this, you're not the only one who has this. Every time you see these prompts online, they're great, but everyone has access to prompts. Like they all have their own prompt library. So it's not really about the prompt, it's about how you go through it. Okay. This is one. Then you refer back to the job description and see what you've done, how you showcase, and reply to those things that the AI is helping you to do. You can even ask it to ask you questions about how you solve those things to help you draft the application. Okay. So this is what you do. Use a voice dictation tool. As I mentioned, it's usually easier for people to say out loud instead of writing. If it's easier to write, whatever floats your boat. But yeah, we need you to have an example of how you demonstrate that you can do that particular thing that they're asking you to do. Okay. Similar thought process in a grant application. They're gonna ask you, why do you need this? Who is your core person? How are you going to show the result or the impact? Similar understanding. Okay. So back to that job description, we were gonna go and look through the things they're asking you to do. So filter job and opportunity listings, hundreds of links and emails. That means what? That means information, decoding information, reading a lot, organizing information, draft social media content. Cool. Have you done anything? Have you done your own projects? Have started something? Support with inbox management. When have you done this? Have you had any internship results? And then it goes for what you're looking for. Okay, how do you show that you have attention to detail? When have you had to use something like this? Like, have you edited a magazine? Have you whatever, right? Proactive. Proactive usually means that you're someone who can teach yourself things. So if I remember this, I will never forget this. We once hired an intern with a program from this university, and I was really impressed because she said she taught herself Japanese. And I was like, okay, this is incredible. So like I was impressed, because everyone was an intern, they all have similar experience. But when someone tells them like, look, I really wanted to know this and I taught myself how to do this, it usually is a good thing. Most of the time, people are hiring for these soft skills, someone who knows how to learn how to go for things that really helps in an office, whatever that office is. Okay. So uh this is, sorry, ignore that. The only thing is, we're gonna go to the CV and the cover letter. With all that information that you built, you can now build your cover letter and your CV, of course, but the cover letter is probably the most important bit. So the CV doesn't need to be long. It should only demonstrate how you meet the knowledge and experience required for that position. Okay, anything more is a distraction, anything less is an undersell of your value, and that comes directly from a professional recruiter. All right. So 1 page max for the CV. This is really intense. Most people will spend 6 seconds on a CV. They'll scan it. Okay. And they usually, when I say it F shape, is that people usually scan a CV in an F shape. So they'll start from left to right. They'll read the first bit for sure, a little bit of the second paragraph and then sort of only scan the end. So the key information needs to be at the top, which means that if you are starting with your education, you're missing out. Okay. So the other thing is that instead of describing things and listing things you've done, you need to say how you've done this. So this is the formula. And again, you can screenshot this if you want now. As I said, we will send you something, but it's basically change how you're writing down what you've done in your past by saying, I did this through doing this, and this was the result. Okay. I'll give you an example. Responsible for managing a team, which improved sales. This is very broad. Like no one understands that. Like we don't know what that means. We don't have any sense of scale. What team? Team of one? Team of 10? You know? And then, oh, led a team of 5 people to increase Q1 sales by 25% through the implementation of a new CRM strategy. Great. That means that we have an understanding of the results, what was done, and how much responsibility this person had. In this case, they would then expand this on the cover letter and say the CRM strategy was this done in this way, etc., etc. This is how I thought about it. Okay. It's a little bit like showing your process and showing how you're thinking through this. So this is an example of a basic CV. You don't need a Canva colorful CV. Even if you're a designer or a creative, your CV, if they ask it for you, needs to be simple and easy to read. The portfolio can have whatever fun you have, okay? So this is an example, right? 3 bullet points, date, all impact formula. So this is a before and after comparison, okay? So passionate and hardworking creative professional. Again, I don't know how passionate you are. Also, I don't have any reason to believe that you are hardworking. Nothing tells me that. Like, we don't know you. So we're not going to take your word for it, right? Recruiters are always going to be a little doubtful. Great team player and fast learner. Again, these are what I call fluff words. They don't mean anything. They're really broad, and I'm gonna promise you that most people are gonna say that in one way or another. Then it says what they did, right? Supported the marketing team with various duties. Marketing is a huge thing. It could be so many different things. You could be printing posters, or you can be analyzing social media analytics, right? Involved in email newsletters. What did you do? Did you source photos? Did you write it? Did you draft it? What was the point? So, different way to write this would be this, right? Grew Instagram from this to this, turned that audience into attendance, produced the studio's first TikTok series. This is great. Wrote and sent a weekly newsletter. This how many subscribers it had, how many open rates. So it's about showing that you understand the concept that whatever you did had an impact, even if you don't think the impact is huge, but it's showing that your action had a result. Okay. So this is, I'm sure you all agree with me, a lot clearer on what this person was actually doing, right? As opposed to this. Like instead of saying, I helped to create the online community, you turned an audience into attendance. Also notice that these are all action verbs. Instead of saying I helped or I collaborated, it's like I produced, I wrote. So take ownership of your work, all right? So how can AI help you in this case? So imagine you went through, you have all the bullet points, you're gonna redo your CV, and then you're going to write a draft cover letter, right? And it can literally be bullet points. Then ask AI to argue against you. Why would the recruiter pass on me? And what am I telling instead of showing? Right? Flag unproven claims. That way you can go back and reassess things. And you can do this again using Whisperflow or any other tool. You could be talking to it if it's easier. I think it is for some people helpful to have like a second person talking through things with them. So this is what I think is the best way to do it, because it will give you someone to actually be criticizing things for you ahead of time, flagging things that will be the reason that you get passed on. So similar thinking for open calls and funding. Summarize the guidelines, let them know what you're applying for, what you need for. Remember, go back to your main text of like, this is what I need the funding for, this is what it's gonna be used for, this is how long I need it, etc., etc. And then ask AI to pressure test your case. Like, what would that funder argue against you? And then go through it and change the way you're explaining things, or add things, or remove things. And always in both cases, cut what I say fluff words. Okay. Don't say it was amazing, it was huge. Just say, I led an event of 5,000 people. Don't say I led a huge event. I don't know what huge means, right? It's all, these days are very dependent on circumstances. So I'll give you an example. When I moved to the UK when I was 15 for 6 months, I was 15 and someone asked me where I was from in my school, and I said, oh, I'm from São Paulo. And they asked, is it close to Rio? And I responded, oh my God, it's super close. It's an hour by plane or 6 hours driving. And they looked at me and said, that's not close at all. Like in an hour, you maybe cross like England. And I said, well, for Brazil, it's very close. You see, so what does close mean? It's the same thing. So these are fluff words. Remove it. Be specific. Okay. Quick one. I'm going to go through this. This is even before AI. Okay. These are the mistakes literally 50% of job applications at least make. Please don't do them. Okay. Especially now that you have something to check your work against it. Spelling. Misspelling things, especially the name of the business or the name of the person you're applying for. Don't do that. The basics, like if they ask you to upload a link that needs to be an open link, don't put a link that needs a password. They won't ask for the password. They'll just ignore you because you haven't done the basic, which is follow through with an instruction, not putting a broken link. All those things, basic, they won't care, okay? Formatting, as I said, don't do anything too complicated. Generic wording, copy and paste directly from AI agents. You're going to see the example now. And telling instead of showing. So just listing tasks that you've done. Don't show us anything. I hope this is clear by now after I've banged on from this. So now you're going to be the recruiter for me. All right. This is what's asked. Draft a social media carousel headline or post idea that could promote our newsletter to subscribers. Okay. This is clearly the creative part of the application, right? You come up with whatever you want. These are just a little bit of the majority that I got, okay? Is that a tell or not that these are all made with AI and this person just copy and paste something straight there? The problem is that this role, I wanted someone who liked social media and wanted to like develop new ideas. So I can do this myself, I can ask ChatGPT to come up with this. And it's all basic, and none of this is exciting. So this is actually what happens in the majority of applications. If I tell you this, like, please believe me that 80% of applications get discarded because they look exactly the same. Sometimes they have the same sentences. Okay, with that, I'm going to give you a quick rundown on, and I have a full guide on this coming, but these are some tips to navigate a tough market beyond going just with CV, cover letter, and applying for 1,000 people. Number one, if you see a role being advertised, don't wait until the last moment to send the application. A lot of times people will close an application early because they receive too many applications, especially now in the age of AI, because people get overwhelmed and they close it early. So be quick. The other thing is, a lot of times there are lateral ways into the industry. So that means that you can either, if you want to work in music industry and you ideally would like to work in A&R, but all the jobs you're seeing are in marketing, okay, try to get a job in marketing and then you can move through, you know? Or the other idea is like, oh, I really want to be an events producer and I want to do big events, but I can't seem to find a lot of jobs. Maybe not in like, I don't know, Live Nation, but there will be corporate events or there will be, tech companies that hire to do their own events or sports companies. Like there are oftentimes the same roles and skills in a different industry. So especially in the beginning of your career, this can be quite helpful, but you'll only know how to do this once you've done the job search matrix, okay? I did this a lot in the beginning of my career. While I was working as a producer, I got producing jobs in all sorts of fields, and it really made me a better professional and also gave me a big, you know, book of contacts and connections. And the other thing you can do is obviously go freelance or do something called the 30-60-90 method, which is after you've applied for a job, depending on the level of the role that it is, this is not for everything and for everyone, but is you send a CV, you send a cover letter, and maybe either with the cover letter or usually after the interview, you send them a message saying, if I got this job, this is what I would do on the first 30 days, on the first 60 days, and on the first 90 days of the project. It's a one pager that tells you how you would solve that for them. And that usually makes a huge difference because it shows people that you thought through the process of that job and you're not just applying for the sake of it. Now, if you Google 30-60-90 method, you'll see many examples. The important bit is to, again, be very specific, research the company, and fully understand the role. Again, this usually works better after an interview. And I have used this method and it usually works really well. It does give a bit more work, so I hope you actually want that job. So yeah. Uh, I was going to is I when I was putting together the slides, I was reading some papers and literally this article on business of fashion came out maybe a few days ago. And this is just what's happening at the moment. And this is why I say that learning how to use AI to criticize your thinking and to help you think, it's probably going to be a lot more important than using it to create a perfect CV or cover letter because everything is changing, right? So again, people are focusing more on soft skills, as I said, showing that you learn by yourself, that you're interested, that you're curious, that you have done things your own. There's been a lot more simulations, a lot more applications that I've been seeing on people asking for examples of how you've done this instead of a CV and a cover letter. Lots of simulations, business cases, um, again, independent projects, hobbies. As I said, the person who taught themselves Japanese, all the recruiters are looking at that. And I guess everyone needs to be prepared to do a bit more work because the CVs and cover letters are probably going to go down the drain very soon if it continues in this way. Okay. So, yeah, the article is called How to Get Hired in the Age of AI. There's lots. And just to note, I may not be an AI expert, but I think I am a creative industry expert at this point. I've been working on it for 20 years. And also, just this week, I went through 1,000 links between jobs and open calls to put together our next newsletter. So I see what people are asking for, and I talk to people who are hiring a lot, which means that I think I have a good understanding of what's needed. So I'm trying to bring you on the side of the recruiter or the funder. Okay. This is an example of the 30-60-90 plan, just so you see what it looks like. But I'm not going to spend too much on it because it's literally just a template. Um, and you can find it elsewhere. But yeah, it's a simple thing. It can be delivered like this as a table, and it can be also delivered as a document. But it's a way to think through things if you want to have an edge on a job that you really want. Okay. Now, one more thing to say is that I still think that if you are creative and you bring your voice to things, you are going to get a better shot at getting whatever it is that you want. So, TPPN just got bought recently by OpenAI, by the way. They were a sort of finance show built on the internet by these two guys, and it grew insanely big in the US. And this person emailed them, cold emailed the founder with this email. Okay. So this was shared on a public newsletter, which is why I'm sharing it here. So I'm just gonna quickly analyze the pitch with you guys. So I'm a third year engineering student who spent the past year working for venture funds and AI startups, building stuff around research, organizational systems, and content pipelines. So one paragraph with context, who you are in relationship to that business. What do they need to know to understand about you? So I'm taking this time off in school to get a role, and I think this would be the ideal spot. It gives examples of things that it could do to support, and they created a idea of a merch site for this brand. So they shared like a pilot idea that they had for it, and they are hired on the spot. Because why? Because this was clear. It was very quick to read. It says exactly how much time off he needs. He's like 3 months, like I have 4 months to dedicate. This is what I'm thinking I could do. So it kind of answers what people need even before them needing it. And I heard from other founders in the space that if someone had pitched something like that to them, they would also hire that person on the spot. But you can see that they are not super serious. Like they take the tone, like he says, lol, and it really matches the tone of the business. And it also doesn't take itself too seriously, just again, because this is a type of business that they're in, but they're direct. It shares context. It tells them what they need to know about them, gives them a bit of confidence in their person. And like this, like is someone who is super proactive and really wants to work for this company. So I think you can see that this is a good pitch. And this is an example of why letting your voice not get drowned on by these models is so important right now. Okay. So final tips, obviously, I run a company called Eyeline Networking. So networking is key for getting whatever you want in your life, but also to build a better career, more sustainable with friends around it. With jobs in general or finding funding, definitely follow people in the industry. Most people have a LinkedIn presence or an Instagram presence, but definitely follow them. Follow people that are interested and people who you should know of so you can see where they're going, which events they're attending, what are they reading, so you can be around that context and you can learn from it. Make a list of connections you may have that you can ask for referrals. Always ask for referrals if it's a huge company, especially like if it's Nike, Spotify, etc. These companies receive an insane amount of applications. But so if you know someone who knows someone inside the company, ask them to refer you just so that you get through the first phase. That usually works really well. Google used to have an incentive for people who brought someone to them to hire, because this is the thing, recruiters want to hire people who are going to solve their problem in the fastest possible way. Okay. So ask for advice. Also connect with recruiters, so professional recruiters, to see what they're putting out. Those are all tips for networking. Okay. So this is just a quick thing that I saw someone, just so you see that it's not just me. 400 people applied for a role in a few hours. Okay. And one sent this recruiter a direct message. So this is how people really don't do this well. And if they do it, they send a spam message. So you really have an edge here. Don't think you don't. Like if you actually are focused, your chances of getting the gig are actually a lot more likely. Okay. So finally, if you want to screenshot this, feel free to, although as I mentioned, we have this guide on our newsletter as well. But these are good prompts that I think will help you to critique your work. So show you how to align things and so on. But none of this matters if you don't use your critical thinking against it. And if you don't start from the beginning, which is like sharing how you've done things, explaining, and knowing what you're trying to do, because otherwise they will give you a really broad, terrible answer. Okay. Now I could go into more detail as well. There's a lot of learning you can do yourself. There's lots of newsletters out there that teach you how to set up all the things, all of them like OpenAI, Claude, they all Anthropic, they all have their own classrooms, so you can join their courses for free and learn how to prompt, how to use, and how to install everything. You actually don't need to pay someone to show you how to do it. And just so you know this is a recent stat from last week. LinkedIn launched a global AI skills initiative to try to train more people in AI because the marketing job postings that need someone to be AI literally grew 113%. So showing that you know how to use these tools well and with critical thinking, it's going to be even more important. And again, the learning is out there. You will probably just need to focus some time on it. Okay. With that, if you do want to, I wrote job search hacks. I have a newsletter. We have prompts in this Who's Afraid of AI. We have lots of prompts as well. And as I mentioned at the beginning, we're working on a bigger guide, but we do have a job search guide, which tells you a little bit more about how to network and all of that. So if you want to get involved, here's a QR code or just go to Ala Networking. Our newsletter is there. And with that, I'll stay quiet and we can start the Q&A. Sorry, I had a lot to go through. Okay.
Thanks, Isabel. Yeah, if anyone has any questions, now is your time. Feel free to come on camera and speak or just pop them in the chat.
And I hope I didn't overload everyone. There was a lot to go through. No? Cool.
No questions?
No questions. Okay. Does everyone know which platform they want to use, or does anyone wants to share what's their oh yeah, so the platforms all give free training. You just go through it. And I'll try to pop some here just from AI, from Anthropic. That's easy. But yeah, they're all free. And LinkedIn and Adobe also launched this thing, which is probably gonna be rolled out soon. But yeah, and there's lots and lots of people sharing how to do this online. And just to be clear, no one except for the companies are kind of experts, and even they don't know exactly what's happening. So most people are learning on the go and things are changing really fast. So I think I would encourage everyone to just experiment with it so that you'll know what is happening. And yeah, there are different tools out there. And yeah, hopefully, yeah. So if you just go to, I think ChatGPT is probably ChatGPT Academy or something as well. Like they're all the same, and you can learn from the other ones as well. So yeah, if anyone has any questions, and just to flag that we share interviews with people in the industry every week almost on our newsletter, and they tell you how to connect with them. So it's kind of like a huge cheat sheet of people in the industry. You can start connecting, adding them to your network, seeing what they're doing, what they're posting, what they're looking for. I think that's a really very few people actually do that. And again, if you do it, you'll be ahead of people. What with DMing recruiters, which platform do you recommend? Whatever the recruiter asks. If they ask for a DM, do a DM. If they ask for an email, an email. They will tell you, and you should obey. Do not. Whatever you do, two things. Don't ever click easy apply on LinkedIn. That doesn't work. That goes to, we don't know where that goes to, dark space. Uh, and don't comment or tag them or DM them if they ask for an email, email them if they ask for a DM. Okay. Um, Pros and cons. look, for Arts Council England funding, I would recommend first getting really understanding what you want, like what is your project, what's gonna do, what's the transformation. Then you can look at the uncultured. I'm sure you know this, but I'll just put it here. Uh, it's a great guide. They have lots of examples of projects. So I would say do a draft, even if it's a very simplified draft, and ask AI like the same too. Go to the guidelines to criticize when you're not reaching, what's not clear, what could be better. And also it's really helpful if you need to summarize things to fit into the allotted space that they give you. And also this one, there's a company, a website that puts funding libraries of successful funding applications. So you could, for instance, get a few of those and feed that into your Claude or whatever and create a skill where they teach you how to read a job application, funding application, and how to criticize yours. But I would say start with a draft on what's the project, who is it for, who is it going to reach, because they won't be able to do this information for you. So I would say that's key. And oh, Flora just said that there will be another Arts Council funding workshop. So definitely go to that. But I think with it's similar we were discussing, like you can feed it the information that it needs to know and help you criticize your work. But it's not going to create a project for you. And at the end of the day, originality, creativity, like these are the creative industries. If you don't have that, they will see it and it's not going to work. So, and that there's no point, everyone, because the information on how to prompt and how to use AI is widely available, everyone will probably be using similar prompts. So it's the content and the context that's going to make the difference, not the prompt itself. Um, a lot of companies use AI. Yeah, so I agree. Some companies use AI. I think they're stopping. Some of them are stopping it. What you can do is definitely depending. I think with companies that are really big, as I said, and that may use not really AI, but they've always done this. Before AI, they use the scanner that goes through keywords. Okay. And they've been changing the system for many, many, many ways. If it's a bigger company that receives thousands of applications, they might have a system like that in place. In which case, if you really want to work there, I recommend before you start the application, you try to find someone inside to talk to you or to refer you. Usually, if there's a referral inside, they will tell the system and the system puts you on a different list. This is the only way that I know to escape that. Okay. But as you've been seeing in the articles, all the recruiters are changing their systems now because they don't want to go through like AI swap applications with AI. So it is a broken system at the moment and it's all changing. So what I can tell you is how to, deal with that in the best possible way for you, not for them. So that's what I would recommend. Cool.
Thank you, Isabel.
Did I answer everything?
It looks like you've answered everyone's questions up until now.
Cool.
And because we've only got a couple of minutes left, I think I'm going to steal this time
Perfect.
just to ask everyone to give us your feedback. Hopefully you picked up lots of tips and tricks. I definitely have. But we would love to hear from you. If you could scan the QR code if you want to use your phone, or there should be a link in the chat that you can click as well. And it's a really good opportunity for you to first of all tell us what you thought of this session, give some feedback for Isabel, but also to tell us what else you would like us to program for you, what else would be useful. So I'm going to leave that on the screen. And then I would just like to say a big thank you to Isabel for sharing your wisdom with us. Very much appreciated. And I'm sure everyone is feeling a bit more confident having spent an hour with you. So thank you.
Great. I hope so.
There is hope. And I'll share, Isabel's going to compile some things to share with everyone. So I'll send that over to you. Hopefully tomorrow. Is that okay, Isabel?
Yeah.
Perfect. Okay, lovely. I'll leave that on the screen and say goodbye, good night, and thank you everyone for joining, and thank you again to Isabel.
Thank you.
Bye.